Welcome to our podcast episode where we dive into the topic of mental health and suicide support and awareness. We understand that these topics may be sensitive for some listeners, but it is important to raise awareness and provide support for those who may be struggling. If you or someone you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts or feelings, please know that you are not alone. There are resources available to help you. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24/7 at 1-800-273-TALK. 1-800-273-8255. You can also text HOME to 741-741 to connect with a crisis counselor. Remember that it is okay to ask for help, and seeking support is a sign of strength. We hope that this episode has provided some valuable insights and resources for those who may need them. Thank you for listening. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Billy Wayne back with Legacy United, a Righteous Project Inc. podcast, here with a new guest, a very special guest of mine today, a very special episode, but I'm going to let him introduce himself real quick.
Hey, hello world. My name is Lalo. Most of you know me as Lalo.
That's right. It's boy Lalo. A lot of years in the game, man. So you guys know how it is. We invite local entrepreneurs, people that earn their degrees and have success stories, the struggles that they've been through and certain situations that they have overcome in order to become the person they are today. And as always, I'm going to toss it back to my boy Lalo to get the story started, man. So go ahead, sir.
All right, everybody. So I was born in 1984 over at Fitzsimmons Army Medical Base. I grew up between Park Hill and Five Points. Went to school with this gentleman to the right of me here. Went to Stedman together. Went to Gove Middle School together.
Yep.
I went off to George. I think you might have hit East.
Yeah, I did East for a little bit.
Graduated in 02. But yeah, we went to school together. My childhood was pretty rough, if I'm just going to be honest. I grew up pretty poorer than most of the kids in the class.
Right.
No bottoms to my shoes, not really any nice brand clothes. And, we went to school, all that really mattered.
Yeah.
In Park Hill, it was a look,
Yep, sure
We grew up in the time where, gangsters and thugs and gangs and drugs and all that was real big when we were coming up.
Exactly right.
So, you had to look a certain way. You had to be a certain way. You had to talk a certain way, walk a certain way, act a certain way. So, me, at that particular point in elementary school, I was just going through it, man. My mom and my dad had divorced when I was a baby. I never really met my mom until I was about 32. She passed away when I'm 38, so she passed away in 2020 in COVID. So I only had a few years with her.
Sorry to hear about that.
My dad, he decided to remarry. He married a woman. She owned a bar on the Five Points of Denver. It was called Our Place, basically 34th and Alarmer.
Oh, okay.
And then we ended up moving into Park Hill, Dexter Street, between 23rd and 24th.
I remember those days too.
Yeah,
sure.
man. Hey, man, even though my childhood was what it was, the Park Hill neighborhood, all the kids around, everybody that was my friend,
right?
We did things, man. As kids, we explored the neighborhood. We did some cool stuff. It kind of kept me uplifted from everything I was dealing with at home.
Yeah.
So
I gotcha.
Anybody who does see this episode and you did rock with me when I was a kid and we did do things, hey, man, I really appreciate you on that. That helped me out more than you know.
That's what's up, man. It's good to hear.
So getting back to me, like I said, I was poor. My dad remarried, moved into Park Hill, went to Stedman Elementary School. But then it just kind of twisted there. My dad and my mom went off into this entrepreneur thing with this business, but my dad and my uncle became really big cocaine drug dealers in the late 80s, early 90s. So I hardly ever seen my stepmom and my dad. And when I did see them, it was more of them coming off highs or binges.
Oh, man, yeah.
Months at a time, I'd be home by myself usually. So nobody there with the cooking and cleaning and checking in and helping you with your homework. In school, man, I struggled. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't read. I really didn't learn how to read until about 4th, 5th grade.
Damn, man, okay.
I was in a lot of special classes. Like I said, I'd come home and there was just never nobody there.
Yeah.
So trying to figure all that on your own was kind of tough. Then my dad would, if I wasn't at home, he would drop me off at different trap houses through the east side in Park Hill, and I'd be stuck there for weeks or months at a time until he popped back up. Needless to say, in those environments, in those situations, things occur.
Right.
So that there is where I was molested as a child for probably a year and a half of my life. So I want to say around 1st, 2nd grade, I was dealing with that on a constant. That would be something that occurred maybe 7-day week, 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
and it's just something that continued for that lifespan. So when that was going on, and then my parents not paying attention to me, nobody to talk to,
Right.
it kind of just spiraled me down to depression, really, And at that young of an age, how old are we in first and second grade? 5, 6, 7,
Something
like that.
Yeah, man, young.
Trying to deal with all that on your own,
Right.
it just never seemed to come out right. And how I learned to cope was I'd go to school and pick fights, talk a lot of stuff,
Oh man, okay.
egg people on, and just try to make negative things happen, pick on people. I mean, if I'm being honest, I raise my hand to the Lord, man. I mean, there's some people out there and they know, if you listen to this story and you see me, I owe a lot of people an apology, man. I did a lot of things to some people that were really wrong. And for that alone, I apologize. And realistically, it had nothing to do with you. It was everything that I was dealing with, and that was the only thing I knew how to cope was anger. So I did a lot of stupid stuff to certain people and just did a lot of stuff in general that most kids that age probably wouldn't even entertain.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate you sharing that, man. That something like that is very difficult for people to come forth and share or express those type of situations, And my question was going to be for you is what did you do to cope with those? And it's unfortunate, but it's understandable that those are the outlets that you had to express or even release what you were feeling at that time.
Right.
And you also mentioned it that depressed at a young age is something that not too many people understand or is aware of. At that time, did you know that you were depressed, or was it something else that you felt about those type of feelings?
I feel like I knew I was depressed. More times than not, at the end of the day, I'd find myself crying in my room, to myself. That was like a constant thing.
Yeah.
Feeling alone a lot, which really I was. I didn't really feel like there's anybody I could come to, anybody I can talk to, whether it had been in school or, there was nobody at home. So all of that just kind of beat me down daily. I did the normal thing. You could tell, Billy, I went to school with you, bro.
Yeah, man.
I did my best to keep a straight face and make it seem like nothing was wrong.
Right.
But on the inside, I was dying. It just felt hopeless. Like there was nothing I could do to get away from all this.
Yep.
And there was nowhere to go to. So it just was there.
Right.
And dealing with that alone and constantly knowing that these things are happening and it's just going to continue to happen. It's a scary sight for somebody that young,
of course,
to try to maneuver through all that.
Right.
So unfortunately for me, all the anger and the depression and the tears and the sense of being alone, it just crept up on me too much that, eventually I tried to commit suicide at school. I tried to hang myself on the monkey bars there. And I had a individual, which might have been the first person in my life to ever actually step out of their zone and help me.
Right.
Not mention names there, but that person, if this person sees this episode, I appreciate you there as well, because I honestly feel like I wouldn't be where I'm at today had you not intervened. To me at that point, I didn't really care about anything else. I had been through the most. I had suffered enough, and whatever I was trying to do to cope through it and continue to move forward, it just wasn't working anymore to me at that point. So I decided to do that in a public place and at school. And this person got up there and saved me, man, and pulled me down from there and watched over me and got the help that I needed. Unfortunately for me, that still didn't bring my parents to the table. That didn't allow them to come and help me. What I remember from that time after that happening, I know that there was what I can remember, we had a meeting with a therapist.
Okay.
And prior to going into the meeting, I sat down with my pops, and he was just pretty much telling me, like, hey, you can go in there and tell this lady everything that's wrong with you, or you cannot. The difference is, if you tell her everything that's wrong with you, we probably won't ever see you again.
Damn.
But if you don't, then you'll be able to come back home.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for me, I chose to not say anything.
Right.
I chose to go in there and do what I did every day at school, which was act like everything was cool. There was no explanation as to why I did what I did. There's nothing going on at home.
Yeah.
And even to this day, at this point in my life, I was looking for help.
Yeah.
I don't understand why I didn't just say what was going on.
I hear you, man, and I can't speak from experience at all or whatsoever, man, but I can see there a certain type of fear of the unknown, for the reasons behind that.
Right.
I mean, because if you would have came forward, which of course, man, we all would encourage anybody to come forward. The biggest fear behind that is not being around people that you know already, regardless of the circumstances. Parents, man, you still have that bond, regardless, so I can understand the reasons behind that, especially being a child as well. We don't see the brighter side of the circumstances from coming forward, man. So like I said, not from personal experience, but just understanding that fear, keeping you from saying that. So,
and I agree with that a lot. I feel losing my mom at such a young age. She went her way or whatever, and then being left with what was there wasn't much. So I have this lady in front of me who I'm assuming wanted to do everything to help me, but I didn't know her. I didn't trust her.
Right.
And even though what I had left wasn't nothing, I could at least identify with who they were.
Right.
And I felt like losing one parent, I don't want to lose another parent.
Right.
So I felt like those little emotional feelings inside of me allowed me to continue to lie.
Right.
And, once lying starts, once you understand that you can get away and hide your feelings and emotions, it becomes like a regular job to you, man. It just comes second nature.
Right.
So for me, it's like protect myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm protecting these people who aren't protecting me.
Man.
But I think as a kid so young, you really don't know that at that time. Just like you said, it's familiarity. It's my dad. It's my stepmom.
Yeah.
I know them, and then here we have Susan, who I have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're going to come with or what you're going to give me if I release all this information.
Yeah.
So, I decided to roll with the punches. They brought me back home.
Yeah.
I live with my folks still, but everything was still the same. My dad and my mom were off doing their thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had to deal with the molestation for about a year and a half. And it was a struggle every day still. I remember being angry all the way through high school. I want to say, even though the molestation happened so young, that's something that stays with you forever. Like there's no way of forgetting that or getting fully past that.
Right.
The best thing you can do is just continue to try to put your foot in front of the other and understand that you being here is bigger and better than what you're going through now.
Yeah.
So as long as you continue to keep the faith. And I honestly feel like that's something that was within me too, is church and religion.
Okay.
I prayed a lot to God as a young man. I still pray now.
Yeah.
I mean, I might not be heavy Sunday church every day.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make your relationship better than my relationship with God. We all have our own relationship. I understand that, man. As to our relationship, I'm not going to judge you on how you are with yours.
Right.
Loving God it can happen in so many different ways.
Yes, sir.
So I honestly feel like the faith of constantly praying and asking for help and writing down my feelings and on a piece of paper, which is something I did a lot. It actually helped me become a better writer.
Yeah, that's cool.
Ironic.
yeah, man.
But so constantly praying, man, just praying for help, praying for better times, praying to just get out of this.
Yeah,
I
got you.
Allowed me to come back from doing what I tried to do, and then slowly but surely start to feel normal, start to feel excited about myself.
Yeah.
The molestation eventually came to an end.
Okay.
I got to be a teenager, so then those are the years that you really don't depend on your parents as much. You kind of stand on your own 2 feet and do things like that. So I was able to hold myself up, and then gradually just grow as a person, gradually grow as a kid.
Yeah, man.
Okay. And then most people, when we're faced with these challenges, most people choose the opposite direction, and I get it. I went that way.
Right.
So I completely understand the how low you can feel and how depressed you can be, and it seems like this is the only answer. And at that point, I felt that way for me, obviously, because I tried. Yeah. But looking back on it now, it really wasn't what should have happened.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had some better support or a better understanding of what I could have done as a person or as a child at that particular moment, maybe the outcome would have been completely different.
Right, I hear you.
But I will say that, like all of us, whatever we've gone through in our life, it sets you up for the person that you're going to be.
Yeah.
And honestly, going through all the trials and tribulations, coming from the gutter, having no money, being poor, starving at night, no shoes on the bottom of my feet. Man. Like, it made me a stronger person.
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
So you got to go through all of it
Yep.
before you can see the mountaintop. But we get stuck in going through it all.
Yeah,
and
man.
don't give us enough time to reach the mountaintop.
Yeah, straight up.
And sometimes it might feel like you'll never get there.
Yeah.
You know, I can testify to that too. Where I'm at today, you couldn't have told me as a child back then that I'd be where I'm at today.
Yeah.
Period. There's no way you can make me believe that. Even if you've seen it in a book that was written for me by God,
Right.
I still wouldn't have believed it.
Man.
You know, there was just so much going on. So
Right.
keeping faith, I'd say, is the biggest thing out of all of it. But not just faith to the Lord, but faith to yourself.
Ooh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we have friends, we have people, but how many of them are loyal and faithful to you?
That's real.
The one person that you know on this earth that's going to be 100% faithful to you is you.
Ooh, right.
So we got to continue to just be strong for ourselves.
Yep.
And then at the end of the day, you may find yourselves in situations like me now, man, where I'm actually doing community events. You know, we're donating, we're helping.
Yep.
You know, we're trying to make a change.
Right.
I'm a person where people lean on now. People look
man.
for source of help or direction, and it's a drastic change from where I was as a child.
Right. Straight up.
You know, I needed to. I was the people looking for that. You know, I was the one looking for faith or direction or help or anything that could have been offered. That's what I needed.
Yeah.
And now all these years later, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
So it's a cliche, but the Lord works in mysterious ways. You know, anything is possible.
Right.
Dreams do come true.
Yep.
It's just the path to get there is different for most.
Definitely, man. Definitely. So I appreciate that, man. Everything said, I agree with you 100%. And going back to, you know, the what you had to experience as a child, and saying that you eventually got a point to where you did find an outlet. You know, you were able to write your feelings out on paper, which I think is important, to find an outlet, a positive, productive outlet for those type of situations. Because, and I mentioned this on another podcast before, while I was going to school, psychology class, of course, I learned about something called post-traumatic growth, which is the opposite of what we all are familiar with, which is post-traumatic stress. So there are, you know, studies behind this, to where people respond off of traumatic experiences differently. Some people will grasp on the negative aspects of that and not have that outlet, you know, and go a certain way. And others eventually get to a point to where they understand that they have to continue to grow from there.
Right.
Yeah, and we see it all the time. Man. There's people that you know, that I know, that chose, you know, the other path as they were growing up, and were not able to not able to grow from those experiences, you know. And they're all unfortunate experiences. It's just that, what are you willing to do, or what are you willing to try yourself to try to get out of that? And it's not easy, easy at all, because we've known each other for a long time, man. And from elementary school through middle school, late high school years, man, early adulthood, all I've seen was Lalo. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the thing about society, is that you don't know what other people are going through at all whatsoever. I've had plenty of friends, you know, that I have a few friends that committed suicide, and before, you know, that occurred, they were smiling, happy, having fun.
Right.
And you know what I'm talking about, man.
Right.
And we just don't know or understand what's behind the curtains.
Right.
You know, and that's the same thing, man. As you were growing up, man, you had to learn to deal with it, but not only to deal with it, but to harness that and carry it on your shoulders for so long.
Right.
You know, and that's something that has to be commended, because people go through their whole lives without saying that. We've had friends that never was able to do that.
Right.
So for you to come out and you know, express that and share that with us, you know, to let others know that, you know, that there is people out there, you know, that can relate to you, and there is support out there, is huge.
Right.
Huge. And we appreciate that, man.
And I want to make sure that we put that in there, as far as we talked about keeping faith for yourself.
Yeah.
But us as people, as human beings, checking in with each other.
Right.
If you have a friend, you have an associate, a family member, at this point, it doesn't matter what it is. we need to do a better job as people to check in on each other.
Right.
It could be a simple cause. I didn't call for anything but to see how you're doing.
Yep.
That's a habit that I have within business and within my own circle.
You do, man.
Is I'll call out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm asking, hey, man, besides we jumping what we're going to jump into,
exactly.
How are you doing?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I care. And I want you to know that I care.
Right.
And I think that's the problem, is that us as people, we get caught up in the facade and the image that we're trying to put out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, when we were growing up, it was gangsters and thugs.
Right.
Yep. Most of the kids when we grew up, that's what we was looking towards.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? You looked up to the gangster rappers, a Tupac or a Snoop, or they were it for us.
Yep.
You looked into the Bang Bang movies. We got Heat, we got Boys in the Hood, we got Menace to Society.
Exactly.
This is what was all popular, especially in our neighborhood we grew up at.
Yep.
In Park Hill, in the 90s, late 80s, 90s.
Yep.
You had to be a tough one.
Right.
There wasn't no weak.
Yeah. You're right, man.
You had to be on your stuff every single day.
Yes, sir.
And the way that we were testing each other every single day.
Right.
We all wanted to be the hardest. We all wanted to be the toughest.
Right.
And that's just what it was. And it carried down to everything that we did.
Yep, sure did, man.
So it was always a fierce competition between each other. Even if we was homies, we was looking at each other like, hey, man.
Yeah, man.
You can't be weak.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We can't be seen this way. But what I want everybody to understand is that at some point in everybody's life, we're all weak.
Yeah.
Whether we're going to admit that or not.
Right.
We're all weak. And if you are down and you are feeling like this is it, I promise, reach out to somebody.
Right.
And you'll get something out of that that'll help you believe that there's more than what you're thinking.
Yes, sir.
I honestly feel like as a kid, if anybody would have reached out to me and just let me know they cared, I probably wouldn't have went down the way that I did.
Right.
So us as people, let's put away the facade. Let's put away the image.
Yep.
I'm a man, you're a man. You're a woman, she's a woman. And anybody in between.
Right.
We all just need to learn to love each other. At the end of the day, we're taught so much about dog eat dog. Everybody's our competition, which in life, that's a true thing. But at the end of the day, you have your circle. You have the people that mess with you and the people you mess with. So I feel like our job at that point is to make sure that we're all doing good. We're all being checked on. Yep. We're all being shown love. Because that right there, love.
Yep.
Love is the one thing, we all know this, love is the one thing that can make somebody feel good on the inside or make somebody feel lost.
Yep.
It's how you portray it. It's how you use it. It's how you show it.
Yes, sir.
So let's put away all the other stuff. Let's just take care of each other. We all getting old. I mean,
yeah, man.
LB, me and you, we pushing close to 40 now. 40 years old now, bro.
Right. Yep.
As a 15-year-old Lalo, you couldn't have told me I'm about to reach 40 years old. You couldn't have told me I'm going to be married with kids.
Yeah, right.
You could have told me we sitting here doing a podcast together,
yeah, man.
Bro.
Exactly.
So life is going to take you on these ups and downs.
It will.
But the most important thing is you got to present yourself to be available for every up and down life gives you.
Right.
And the most important thing, stay to yourself. Be true to yourself.
Right.
If you hold yourself down, there ain't nothing that you can't do.
That's right, man. You spit nothing but facts over there, man. And one thing for sure is that the checking up on people thing is true, right? Especially from experiencing with our relationship, right? So, yeah, man. I mean, when we link back up, we would call, even if it's business, and I say, hey, what's up? So we're going back. He's like, no, real quick. How's the family doing? And that catches me off guard. It caught me off guard, right? So what that does to somebody's mindset, it does create that unique bond, because these days you get a text, you get a phone call. Most of the time it's, hey, are you busy today? Or, hey, what are you doing? And people don't like responding because why? Because you always feel it's about something, either, need some help doing something or some other type of things. And we rarely get those, hey, so, I'm just reaching out to see how everything is going. And that actually, I picked up on those cues, man, and that's exactly what I do now with people that I talk to, even my parents, man. It's never just, hey, we're going to come over this weekend and, eat or whatever, it's, hey, how's everything going?
Right.
How are you guys doing today? And then, once we establish that, then we can talk about whatever at that point. But people don't get that as often as they should. And everybody becomes territorial, confrontational, and probably not want to talk to a lot of people because of that.
Exactly.
So if we were able to shift that, if you're able to shift that mindset for me, I'm sure that it can go a long way with other people as well, man.
Right.
And it does because yes, just like I said before, you never know what somebody's going through, and just a simple, conversation. It could be a couple of minutes long about just asking to see how you doing can go a long way.
Exactly.
Straight up, man. So thank you for that.
No, everything falls into place, man. Honestly, when you have people that truly care about you, people that truly love you,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and it took for me to get through everything I went through and establish a family on my own.
Yeah.
To really get an understanding of that unconditional love.
Right.
You know, I understand now that my kids see me as their father, their dad. And they love me unconditional, and they don't treat me different every day we wake up together.
Right.
And I understand now as a child, I didn't have that, I didn't have that father-son bond, mother-son bond.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about that. And if I did, it was because I landed up at a friend's house who had his parents.
Yeah.
And you can see that, hey, you guys want something to eat? Or, hey, do you need anything?
Right.
I'm looking at four walls every single day, and it's just me.
Right.
So it's taken me now to understand the dynamic relationship from a child to a parent and how important that is.
Gotcha.
So another piggyback off to everything that happened is that if you have children, how do children spell love? Time.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? The time that you put in with your kids, that's how they spell love.
Right.
It's not what you can buy them.
Right.
Right? It's not none of that material stuff. It's what you give them from your heart to their heart.
Man.
And once you decide to make that choice, have a child, be present in that child's life.
Yeah.
Because you have no idea how big that is for that child.
Yeah.
I can remember yearning for my father, wanting him to even acknowledge me when I was going through all my stuff. And now I sit back and I see my son, and I'm present. I'm there every single day. I tell my kids and anybody who asks, the one thing that I learned from my parents is how not to treat my kids.
Yeah.
So I work my ass off every single day
That's what's up.
to be present, to show up to these events. You know what I'm saying? To let them know that they're loved.
Yeah, that's good.
To me, it's that important. So if you do have kids, I'm not trying to tell you how to be a parent, but even if you haven't been present in their life and there has been some reasons for that, let's push all that aside and try to start fresh.
Yes, sir.
Because at the end of the day, at any age, a child needs his parent.
Right.
So let's keep that in mind and work hard at trying to be a little better at that.
That's what's up, man. Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Yeah, man, quite a bit that you were able to share, and it will go a long way, believe me. And I know you know as well, so straight up, man. So a couple of questions that I do have for you,
All right.
as well. I think you touched base on it earlier a little bit, and I ask this question in every episode. If there's that one thing that you can tell yourself when you were young, what would that be? The one thing that you knew or that would have that impact that you needed when you were a kid.
Honestly, I would say don't do it.
Man.
All right, if I could go back in time and picture myself on that playground, inserting my head into that handle and letting go, I wish I could have told myself not to do it.
Dang, okay.
So if I could have go back and do that, I think 100% I would tell myself, don't do it.
Yeah.
This isn't the end. Things will get better.
Gotcha, man. Gotcha. Thank you. All right, man. Well, the other question, as always, man, is kind of the conclusion of everything. Are there any final thoughts, words of wisdom, anything you want to share with the audience today?
Yes, I want to share my life now.
Yes, sir.
I found my queen almost 18 years ago.
Nice.
She blessed me with 2 kids. She holds me down day in and day out. We own a business together.
That's what's up.
We've been running a successful construction business for the last 7-8 years.
Yes, sir.
We are dominating the space and sector that we're in. But most importantly, I want to give praise to my wife and my kids, man. I was still trying to figure myself out when we met. I think I was around 21.
Okay.
Still making knucklehead decisions, still just trying to put it together. But when we crossed paths, I feel like she really helped me learn to love myself.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, learn to allow somebody else to love me.
Damn, that's what's up, man. Okay.
I feel like though growing up, I had a hard time. You my homie. We go back, but I didn't have too many.
Yep.
And that could be because of the stuff that I did. I feel like a lot of it was trust issues.
Yeah.
So I didn't really let anybody in. I just kind of dealt with what I was going through on my own.
Right.
And it carried me so far. But when I met my wife, and she wrapped those arms around me, man, and made me feel special, it helped me develop into the man that you see today.
Nice.
Which is just a businessman, man, an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Constantly investing in things, constantly giving back to the community,
Right.
constantly just being a helpful person to any and everybody who needs it.
Yes, sir.
That's a completely 100% change from how I was back in the day. I felt like, I fought a lot, I picked on people, I just did a lot of negative stuff, man. And I feel like it's just because what I was going through. But anger, man, anger can make you become a different person even when you don't realize you became this different person. Anger is so strong, especially if you allow it to get into your heart.
Yeah.
It'll succumb, and then you're not you no more. You're just this other person who's just angry. And now, I'm not going to say I'm not angry sometimes. Some people still make me mad. Yeah. But I feel like I'm a more loving person. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm more of a role model now. I got my son, I got my daughter. And those two just constantly loving me, and us building this dynamic relationship as father and son and father and daughter.
Yep. I know what you mean.
It's beautiful,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Like, it's next level. Right. I mean, I sit back sometimes and I just look at them and how they are now, and man, it just brings a tear to my eye that I was able to experience every single moment with them.
That's what's up.
And so the Lord has blessed me, my wife has blessed me, my kids have blessed me, and I feel like in the end, for most of us who've had these issues with depression or suicide or molestation, we just got to find what we're looking for to make us come whole again, and then everything will turn around. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was easy, because it really wasn't. It really wasn't. There's plenty of times after the situation where those evil thoughts and things crept into my head, and I kind of felt like, man, maybe I shouldn't be here.
Yeah, man.
So those demons will always be around. But if we learn to manage and fulfill our time with beautiful, loving people, man, there ain't nothing we can't get through.
I feel you, man. Thank you for that. It's a big story for sure, man. I mean, coming from the situation that you went through as a child to becoming a successful story today, it's something that you don't hear as often from somebody that you can relate to, right? I mean, you do hear celebrities eventually come out and share their story about this and that, but I think the biggest thing is us understanding that you don't have to be a celebrity to be able to have an impact from your experiences. And I think that's something that you are expressing 100% today, that people can, and they can see that, So everything you said today, man, I think is going to be and have a huge impact on somebody's life.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's major, man. It's major, yes, sir. Anything else? Anything else you got for
us? No.
All right.
I think I feel pretty good where we went today.
Yeah, man. I think you shared quite a bit. Definitely a heartfelt story, man. Definitely, sad beginning to a righteous and triumphant present. So thank you for everything that you shared today. And out there to the audience, if you guys like this episode, if you felt something from this episode, definitely subscribe, or even just comment on our post out there. Reach out to us, send us an email at righteousprojectinc@gmail.com. Just let us know, how you felt about it. And you can catch this episode on YouTube. We'll release it later on this month on YouTube. And you can catch our podcast on your favorite streaming services as well. All right, just reach out to us and stay subscribed, and we will have more information to you guys soon. So once again, this is Legacy United, Billy Wayne signing out with my boy Lalo. You guys have a good one. Peace.